The Chicago Bulls struggle against the Orlando Magic's defense in a route to a pretty major loss. We're going to talk a little bit about that. Plus, Lonzo Ball made his return to the Chicago Bulls tonight. And Zach and Coby both have bad nights, quite bad nights. We're going to talk about all and more on today's Locked On Bulls.
You are Locked On Bulls, your daily Chicago Bulls podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Thank you for tuning in to Locked On Bulls, member of the Locked On Podcast Network, where it's your team every single day. I'm Haize, host and creator of Chicago Bulls Central and Chicago Bears Central YouTube pages and podcasts. And we want to thank you guys for tuning in to Locked On Bulls as you do every single day. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. You can start the season with a big return on FanDuel. New customers can place a $5 bet, and you'll get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. And I wish that the Chicago Bulls got to a better start in this game against the Orlando Magic, giving up almost 40 points again for another quarter for the Chicago Bulls, 38 points in the first quarter while only scoring 25 points. And they didn't go on to win another quarter until, they won the third quarter and the fourth quarter technically, which is why they didn't lose by over 20 points. But other than that, this was a really good masterclass by the Orlando Magic. I know this is a Bulls show, and we're going to talk a lot about how the Bulls and what they did to lose this game, but 21 points from Franz Wagner in this game. You got 24 points for KCP, who coming into this game, KCP couldn't hit the side of a barn if you asked him to, and that's if he was shooting with boulders, right? 22% so far from the season from the three-point line. But listen, for what it's worth, KCP stepped up and performed in this game really well for this Orlando Magic team. 6 of 10 from three-pointer, 8 for 13 overall from the field. He had in this time 4 steals as well in this game. And KCP really gave the Magic that mix of offense and defense that they thought they were going to get when they got in him. But 31 points by Jalen Suggs, 31.7 assists, 3 rebounds from him. When you have players playing like that, the 24 from KCP, the 31 from Jalen Suggs, the 21 from Franz, then you got Mo Wagner coming off the bench with 15 points as well. And so this is just a struggle of a game. And overall, just the Bulls weren't prepared on either side of the ball, really, for the Orlando Magic. We knew the brand of defense that the Magic played coming into this game. And one thing with this Bulls team is that if they're going to be successful where they are successful at, usually means that they are going, or they have to, right, shoot the ball amazingly well from the field. And today, while the Bulls didn't have a terrible night from the field, 52, almost 53% from the field today, 38% from three-point range. Listen, that's solid shooting. It's not great, right? It's not like some of the bigger shooting nights that we've seen, but those are pretty solid shooting splits for a team. The 68% from free throw range, we need to tighten that up. We got to be a better free throw shooting team. But other than that, it is what it is, man. The Bulls offense didn't really give what we're used to seeing and accustomed to seeing from them. Cold nights from Zach LaVine and Coby, which we'll get into in a little bit more. But THC was our second leading scorer with 20 points off the bench today. 20 points in 13 minutes. And I already know the THC truthers are coming out in all force to try to say that THC needs to play more minutes. And let him be the tank commander if that's what you want. But overall, man, real struggle. Exactly what I expected to happen tonight. Will the Bulls team defense ever improve? That one's from Winton. No. The team defense is not. This team isn't set up to be a defensive team. They're just not, right? There are going to be some games where we look better defensively because we're engaged and locked in or whatever that is. But this is just not a team that's really set up or equipped to be a really good defensive team, to be even, a mid defensive team. This team and where they struggle out defensively, points in the paint, right? Those type of easy things. Still the same team that's susceptible to giving up 3-point shots. So they're just making them at a better rate and keeping that margin down than what they had and play with last year. But then when you have cold nights from Coby White and Zach LaVine, like you did in today's game, it's going to be really difficult to win any game because those are your guys that are really your workhorses there, them along with Vooch. But I think Vooch held up his end of the deal today. Benji says THC averaging 34 points per game over 32 minutes. That don't mean nothing. Come on, we're not going to do a per 32. Not to a player like THG. Mel Manchild Jones says Bulls are so bad I've damn near checked out on the season already. I mean, I'm sure there are a lot of people that agree with you on that, Mel. Like, it really sucks that, you know, and this team is always going to be that team that they can look really good in the right situations if they get hot, or they face a team like the Washington Wizards. If the Bulls face defenses as bad as them and the Washington Wizards every single night, will probably be a 50-win team. But unfortunately, you know, what the Bulls have and what they struggle for the most are teams that are sound defensively. And do you know what the top teams in the league are? They're at least sound defensively. Some of them aren't the greatest defensively, but they're sound, right? They have something that they do. They communicate to that degree. The Bulls are going to win very few games that are like that. And that's why I have the view that I have on this team on still being a 30 to 35 win team, because I just don't think that there's going to be enough times where the Bulls can overcome just how bad their defense is. I just don't believe that, right? They're going to get lucky. They're going to get some wins in there, but it's going to be a struggle and it's tough. You cannot beat top tier teams in this league without being good defensively or understanding how to beat a good defense. And when your offense comes down to, let's just jack up shots and hope that we're going to get out and attack in transition, that's not really a system. That's a play style. It's not really a system. And that's where the Bulls really struggle from. When you look at their offense, yeah, their offensive numbers are solid. The efficiency is solid. It's so much night and day versus what we saw offensively from this team last season, but it's still not a system. It's not a scheme. It's just a play style. And the Bulls are going to get by on that on some nights because that's just the nature of basketball. What did I call this team? On offense, they're button mashers. For those that play fighting games, you understand what I mean by that. That's what this Bulls team is. Sometimes mashing those buttons, you're gonna look really good in some fights. Sometimes mashing the buttons, you're gonna look and people are gonna wonder, what the heck are they doing out there? They're just doing stuff. That's the nature of what the Chicago Bulls offense is gonna be this season. The Chicago Bulls are the button mashers in the NBA. And that's just what right now they're playing off hope and a style. No scheme, no philosophies, no system, just a play style. And that is unfortunate, especially when you have so many guards on this team. Teams that have heavy guards should be getting heavy ball movement, right? Solid passing, limiting turnovers, because you have so many guards. The Bulls aren't doing that. And it's really unfortunate, man. Josh Giddey had a really, I won't call it necessarily comeback, but it was definitely a better game than what it looked like it was going to be to start out for him. It was ugly for Josh Giddey at the start, of this. He went 0 for 1 in the first half of this game. And then when you flip that and you look at what he did in the second half of this game, 5 for 5 from the field, 2 for 2 from 3-point range, 5 assists, 1 steal in this game, 1 block shot, all that coming in the second half of this game. So, shout out to Josh Giddey for being able to turn some things around. But overall, we just didn't have anything. And the button mashing didn't work tonight. That's just really what it comes down to. The button mashing did not work tonight. We were in there against a team that actually operates a system, that a team that actually communicates on defense, and the Bulls just don't have the IQ to match it. We don't have the IQ. We don't have the wit. We don't have the skill. We don't have the talent. And so it's going to be a tough season ahead for the Chicago Bulls. It would be completely different if the Bulls players played like they cared. They don't. I got to disagree to an extent. I do think those guys are out there playing like they care. I just think that they're just not good. At this point, these players are just playing for a check. Fans are an afterthought. This is the worst put together roster I've seen in. Oh, well, no. I mean, listen. Portland is a really weirdly constructed roster. So I mean, if we were just talking about Bulls rosters, sure, but there's been some really weird rosters in the NBA. Hell, last year Killian Haynes was starting over Jaden Ivey for the Detroit Pistons. There are some weirder situations than what the Bulls are, but I definitely get what you're getting at. Billy Donovan getting out coached every damn night doesn't help either. What the heck does he be thinking? I mean, I've said it before. It's easy to look at a loss and say you got out coached. Like not even always in losses are you getting out coached, but Billy Donovan just doesn't adjust. I mean, this is a league where you got to be adjustable within games. You got to be adjustable game to game. You got to be adjustable season to season. You got to be adjustable, be able to make adjustments month to month. And we don't make good adjustments. This Bulls team, I guarantee you, will look the system, the lack of system, is going to look like the same at this end of the season as it looked in the start of the season. That's just the nature of Billy Donovan being your head coach. It's unavoidable. So see what the good Lord got in store for us. Hopefully it's better days ahead. But I can tell you what's ahead on this show. We're going to be talking about the cold nights from Coby White and Zach LaVine in this loss to the Orlando Magic. Before we get into that, though, we got to get into a message for one of our sponsors, and that is FanDuel. Get ready to tackle the NFL action with FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. Because right now, new customers can bet $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if you win. The FanDuel Sportsbook app gives you everything you need to place live bets on the NFL all in one place. So when you get a hunch in the middle of a game, you can check out the latest stats, view live play-by-play, and so much more on the same page where you place your bets. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. You get started with $150 in bonus bets if you win your first $5 bet. That's FanDuel.com. Never waste a hunch and make every moment more with FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, Bulls fans, man, thank you guys for tuning in to Locked on Bulls each and every day. But we got to talk about it, man. We have to talk about it, and that is we cannot have nights where Coby White and Zach LaVine both collectively go cold. This team just isn't equipped to be able to weather that storm. We can do one of those guys along with Vooch, because Vooch is pretty consistent. But if you're talking about nights where Coby and Zach are going to combine to go 6 of 19 from the field, that's not going to cut it. We need more from them. And while Zach had a really good turnover to assist ratio today, 10 assists to only 2 turnovers, 5 rebounds, he filled up the stat sheet even more than Coby White, who just had 9 points, 4 turnovers, 2 assists, 2 rebounds. It was trash today. And this is one of the things, like, I'm going to give Zach a bit of a pass here because Zach has been pretty consistent this season. I think Zach is not perfectly. It's been some games where Zach doesn't shoot the ball well or score too well. But I think now what we're seeing is that this is a different Zach because he's actually bringing something defensively. He's bringing something facilitating wise. He's bringing something in moving the ball off of himself and realizing, hey, I don't got it tonight. Let me go to somebody else. Coby White is not at that point yet. Coby White's at the point where, you know, when his shot isn't falling, he's going to keep shooting until he gets himself in there. And then one could say that this is the roster construction as well, because it's like you have nobody else in that starting lineup that can score consistently. But the Bulls are just not one of those teams that are prepared for 2 of their top tier scorers to be completely nil for you for the most part. They're just not prepared for that. Our system also works off getting close to 3 20-point scorers that we need. Now, THT with you know, that's not there, right? He's not one of those stars, but you need that. And so despite the 21 points from Ayo Dosunmu today, going 10 and 12 from the field, all that, you cannot have Zach LaVine and Coby this cold. You can't. You can't. And as long as that happens, you know, you're not going to win. The margin for that, for Zach and Coby to have bad nights and for you to win the basketball game, that's a very thin margin there. Yeah, it's a very small window of how you can still get that done. And that would almost mean that everybody else has to be shooting damn near lights out. And that's definitely not what happened today. We saw it okay as a team, but definitely not lights out. And so, you know, the thing that would help this team so much, and I know I complain by the fact that the Bulls have a play style, not really a system, is that, like, how do you get other people involved? Now, we didn't have Jalen Smith in this game. He is somebody that you can look at to give you a double-digit points when you need it. But even then, it's still somebody else has to create for him. When you're talking about on-ball shot creators, we got 2 of them. We got Zach. We got Coby. That's it. Now, Josh Giddey can create for others for sure. I'm talking about more so creating for themselves. And I don't mean in the selfish sense before anybody gets to typing that. I just mean by the nature of you can create your own shot, right? Josh Giddey's great there for people who can't create their own shot. But they got to figure it out. And, overall, I don't know how much figuring out is going to be done by this Bulls team. I just don't know unless a move is made because we just don't have the roster. That's it. We do not have the roster. We can beat the Washingtons. We can beat the Atlantas. These are teams that are around us in the standings. And there are going to be times where we do shoot the ball like crazy and we can beat the Memphis Grizzlies and teams like that, those ilk of teams. But to do it consistently enough to be able to be in games, the Bulls just have not shown that ability at all. They just have not shown that. And I've gone through it before with you guys to kind of inform, like the Chicago Bulls have a point differential of teams that are typically 22 to 28 win teams. Negative 5.7. Unless that changes, right? And you can go and look at it. Anybody who wants to fact check me. The one thing, one of the things that always kind of evens out every season, especially in the Eastern Conference, is the differential, the point differential. Usually, the teams with the best point differential end up being the teams that make the playoffs and make the play-in. So, and now it could vary in the West more so because in the West you need a 500 record just to even make the play-in. So that it varies a little bit different in the Western Conference. But go look at it year by year. Your point differential, not necessarily your win percentage this early in the season, but that point differential. There's something that usually maintains true when you try to predict out teams that are going to be able to actually make a run or get to the playoffs. The Bulls have a point differential of teams that typically are not right outside, that are outside of anything meaningful as far as type of postseason. That's where the Bulls sit right now. And until that starts improving, that's going to probably be a good barometer of where this team is going to be at the end of the season. It's held true for a long time. Now, you can still go on spurts that can change your differential, right? You can do that. You can get somebody back from injury that changes that. But just typically when you look at what the point differential means and how that correlates to your postseason or even your chance to have one, it's pretty loud there in my opinion. And so right now that's pointing to the Bulls not being in the play-in. In the play-in at all. Right now, via the Bulls differential, they're slated to finish with the third worst record in the East. That's it. It's going to be a struggle as long as that's the case. Mig says Billy needs to tweak that starting lineup. He's not going to do it because he's going to leave his best players out there. Regardless of how well they're working together or not, it takes Billy Donovan forever to make an adjustment of that sort. And I'm just not going to bet on that being the case here at all. At this point, the safest bet in the NBA that the Bulls will lose their second game of a back-to-back every single time. I mean, that or games when we're trying to make it 3 in a row, like it's a lot of struggle around here. It's been the same thing for years for this team, unfortunately. As much as things have changed, and they have changed, they stayed the same in a lot of ways as well. Some would say that they stayed the same in the ways that we don't want them to stay the same the most. And that's just the unfortunate nature of being a Chicago Bulls fan. It's not going to stop until we either get lucky in the draft, we get a true change of direction, and even then, it's going to be then ugly for a little bit of time. So, yeah, man. It sucks to be where we are right now. To be at that realization that this team it's just not good enough. And in the last couple of years, we haven't been good enough then either. But we were better, right? We were a team that we thought was going to make the play-in, despite having a negative differential. This is not working for this team as far as when it gets to wins. Now, maybe there's that ulterior motive. Shout out to my tanking truthers. Maybe they're the ones that are right, and this is a disguised tank by Arturas Karnisovas. And if it is, great. I'm glad that you went out there and were aggressive about something. But this Bulls defense is going to continue to hold this team back. That's not going to change magically, even with bringing Lonzo Ball back to this team, it's not going to magically change what the Chicago Bulls ceiling is this season. It's not. But we'll see. But we're going to talk more about Lonzo and his return back to the basketball court after missing 13, 14 games for the Chicago Bulls. We'll get into that. But first, we got to get into a message from Skylight. Skylight, struggling to find the perfect gift this holiday season. Whether you're buying for someone who has everything or just looking to stay connected with loved ones far away, I've got the answer. Skylight Frame is the ultimate touchscreen digital photo frame that everyone in your family will adore. Setup is a breeze. It takes less than 60 seconds. You can invite friends and family to share photos instantly through the free Skylight phone mobile app or email. It's so easy to upload new pictures straight from your phone, no matter where you are. Imagine sending a new family photo to grandparents across the country and they see it seconds later. It's like you're right there with them. The Skylight Frame also has looks stunning in your home with HD resolution and 5 different frame styles to fit any decor. You can even preload it with special photos as a surprise, perfect for gifting. And now, as a special limited time offer for our listeners, we get $20 off your purchase of a Skylight Frame when you go to skylightframe.com/NBA. That's skylightframe.com/NBA. Don't wait. Get $20 off today at skylightframe.NBA. All right, Bulls fans, before we get up out of here today, man, let's talk about the return of one Lonzo Ball. You know what I appreciate so much about when Lonzo comes back? It almost gets to the point to where you kind of forget he wasn't out there. And by that, I don't mean that as a slight to him. I just mean that when you watch him and the way that he moves around the basketball court, when you watch and look at the way he goes after the 50-50 balls, things like that, like Lonzo just comes out with no fear when he plays. And to the credit, 15 minutes today. They did reiterate that he is on a minutes restriction, but he went 2 or 3 from three-point range in that time. 4 assists, 3 rebounds, 2 steals. 2 blocks, 4 steals. That's a hell of a stat line to be after being out of a game for 16 games. That's a hell of a stat line. And so, as I've said before, every time that Lonzo Ball steps on that court, he's making history at that point. Every single time he's on the court, he's making history. And for that, I take my hat off to Lonzo Ball, because not only is he out there competing, he's out there fighting, he's out there playing free. And a lot of people don't do that after a major knee injury. They play timid, right? They're protective of that knee. They're learning to trust that knee. Lonzo is just out there playing, going after it, trying to be himself, playing the only way that he knows how to play. And so this Bulls team, when this Bulls bench is fully healthy again, you now have Modest, who got 25 minutes today. He got 7 points as well. You got Julian, you got Dalen, you got Jalen Smith. On games where Lonzo plays and he gets to play with those guys, Lonzo's the type of guard that can get more out of those guys, which maybe can help the Bulls a little bit more in cases like that. So that's what it comes down to. Lonzo, it's just great. Whatever the future holds with the Chicago Bulls, that's not for me to decide. That ain't got nothing to do with me. That's between him and the front office. But it's really good to see Lonzo Ball back out on that court, back out there competing, and back out there doing what he loves to do. Let's just hope that we get it for longer than 3 games this time. Let's hope that we get longer for that. But he's able to shake off that rust. It's good to see him out there. Vaughn, Billy needs to hurt some feelings and change the starters. I also feel like Modest has been playing good, but people saying start him over P. Will is a no for me. Completely agree with you there. Modest is not ready to start in this league yet. You can completely, I won't say stun his growth, but you can set him up for failure mentally if that's the case. So that's my thought there. As far as Billy needing to hurt some feelings, I wouldn't be mad if Billy changed the starting lineup. I mean, it's clear. We've seen it. I've talked about it ad nauseum at this point, what the differential and the analytics are telling us about that Bulls starting lineup. It's telling us that they're better out there with Ayo out there. Meaning that whether you sit Giddey and start Ayo, or you start Ayo and sit Coby, either one of those combinations with the starters has a much better differential, much better defense, as far as points given up per 100 possessions than what you have with Coby and Giddey out there starting together. And one of the questions coming in here is how well do Coby and Giddey work together? And if we're gonna try to answer that question right now, it's not great. It has not been great as of right now. Can it improve? Yeah, definitely. How many times have we seen in the first year of maybe like Kyrie and Luka had to figure it out after the first year being together, and now it's a lot better. It's considerably better. Even though that was a shortened first season, right? That was a trade deadline acquisition, but yeah, we got to figure it out, the dynamic between the starting lineup. If we don't, we're going to be doomed. We are going to be doomed. But that's my time for today, guys. This is your Thanksgiving episode. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you guys have a wonderful and great Thanksgiving with your families if you're able to celebrate with them. I will catch you guys again on the flip side on Friday morning. Love you guys. Go Bulls. See Red, y'all. Peace.